Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hobby Guard. Happy New Year! Happy 2026. Are you excited? Are you scared? Are you happy? Are you anxious? Are you undecided? Oh God, what have I done? Oh no! Just kidding. I'm just making a mess of my desk down here. I kicked a trash can that I didn't know was there. Anyways, how are you feeling about this year? Me, personally, I've been having a lot of anxiety and fear. There's like little voices in my head that are just filled with filling my mind with insecurities, and I've been like shushing each and every one of them. Silence, you heretic. We shall not go into the new year with that vibe. We shall go forth and conquer, even though you might not be feeling it. Because, well, many reasons, but I basically came to the realization a while back, and I actually have come to that realization over and over and over in my life. It's just that I forget that time is not really a thing. Only like wasted time, wasted years, like the Iron Maiden songs. Um, it is just the nostalgia of looking back and thinking, oh, I could have done that. That's what I'm scared of, not time going by fast. But anyways, that probably doesn't make a lot of sense right now. I did take a bunch of muscle relaxants because I've been grinding on my sleep, and not the good type of grinding, like working. No, I've been like destroying my gums, just chewing on my own teeth in my sleep. So I did take a bunch of muscle relaxants, and it seems like they're kicking in. They're finally starting to kick in. So looks like we're set to have a good, fun, ridiculous time that might not make a lot of sense here. Just in case you're wondering, what you're seeing here on screen, I forgot to mention that, is my future logo for the channel. At least that's what it started as of originally. And yeah, it's just a project that I've started, and I wanted it to be more simple, but I went full ADHD hyperfixation on it, so I just started doing more detail on one of my, well, part of my Christmas present, which is this XP Pen Magic Drawing Pad. And honestly, I've been loving it so far. I've wanted one of these since I heard about them. Like, not specifically this one. I had to like look at reviews and so on before I decided to get this one in the end. But just a digital tablet like this, where you can touch and zoom and everything, it's just so cool to use. But I don't know how to. I just don't have it set up to record and use like this at the same time. So, anyways, what I was trying to say is the pressure on that tablet is so good that I just forgot that I wanted to do something simpler, and I went full in on the details, much more so that I wanted to. But now it's too late, and I just have to keep going and do a lot more. But yeah, this won't be a speed paint. I do have a lot of material prepared. I have filmed most of the progress that I've made, because in case you watched the previous video of me making my logo, there's a lot more progress that wasn't there before. Like the line art, I only had previously these sketches in the back. So yeah, the line art is mostly all new, I believe. And I will put those speed paints together and edit them together at some point. I'm just really not feeling it today, because I might be suffering from the decisions I had made yesterday on my New Year's Eve celebration. The decisions I took. I didn't even drink that much. It's just I'm old, I guess, and I just a few drinks will do it apparently for the next couple of days and will make me feel terrible. But yeah, I'll edit those speed paints for now. I'll just block in some line art to go later in on my XP pen pad, and or tablet rather, and just do more or better detail. It's the word that I was after. But yeah, today, let's focus on today's video. How can I even address this? It's not advice, even though I don't know if I'll type advice on the title, because you know how the algorithm works. Well, it's not really advice. It's it's just the advice that I'm giving myself. It's not advice that I'm giving you because I don't know you. Firstly, and secondly, look at me. Okay, I'm a 31-year-old dude with a wizard hat on, and 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 I'm drawing like weird guys with swords, and I collect like space soldier miniature thingies, and all right. So my point is, traditionally speaking, you wouldn't be taking advice from someone who looks like this. And also, I can barely speak English apparently. So yeah, just take it with a grain of salt. But let's just say the advice I'm giving myself, the things I'm putting together, some thoughts that I've been gathering just based off uh, my specific experiences in life, and mainly directed towards the creative lifestyle. You know, being a creative person often can mean that you overthink a lot of things, that you just fill your head, or just anyone in general. I don't even want to say like, oh, being a creative person, you overthink a lot. No, like everyone overthinks a lot. But specifically for creatives, it can be scary. And I will tell you the advice, I guess, that I'll give myself this coming year to address those fears and anxieties that I've been having. So the first one is, have you ever heard the phrase like just do what you love? And just focus on doing what you love and become so good at it that I don't know. Just people giving you that advice. Like focus on doing what you love. If you wanna work just drawing art, just do that and just do it a lot. And you know, I think that for some people that might have been great advice. I don't know for myself because I was never disciplined enough. Unfortunately, I don't want to say like I was lazy or something. I'm not a particularly lazy person. It's just I've had so many jobs that I've taken that had nothing to do with what I actually wanted to do in the past. I also had a bunch of creative jobs, and I'll share more of that sometime, some other time, when it's relevant. But I don't think it will be so much so right now. Well, what I'm trying to say is if you take a job that you don't like, you have a manager, right? And they're on top of you and they're telling you what to do. And you might hate it, you might not like it, it might not be your passion, it might not be your vocation. But since there's someone on top of you, and not in that way, but you know what I mean, like there's someone constantly making sure that you do what you're getting paid to do, and you have to pay the bills. Even if you hate that job, it likely might just be easier for you to stick to that job or another job or switch jobs like I did over and over again. Of course, I did it for a variety of reasons. I have been a very nomadic person through my life for different reasons. I've lived in 4 different countries and I've been places, man. But I mean, the point is, I've had a bunch of different jobs, and not all of them, I would say most of them, have not really been my passion because I just didn't have enough discipline to focus over the years in my passions. Now, there is not that this is particularly relevant because I will give myself and you, if you choose to take it, some advice later on. But first, I just want to like frame the concept of doing what you love and share perhaps some wisdom with you. There's a book by Robert. I'm blanking on his name. I'm sure I have it here somewhere. Hold on, let me look it up. Robert. What was the author's name? No, it's not a Robert. Steven Pressfield. Okay. The book's name, I guess I could have just told you the book's name and not make a 5-minute pause there. It's called The War of Art. And it's a book that I've read probably 3 times. Or listened to, rather, if I'm being honest. And I love it. It always feels like a kick in the back and just to get me doing things. I fully recommend that book to people because it might work for some people. But the truth of the matter is, it's not a magic formula. Like, reading the book won't make you just immediately be good at what the book is telling you to do, because you actually just have to go and do it, right? And the book, one of the main topics and themes in the book in general, is a difference between being a amateur or a hobbyist and being a professional, right? And Steven Pressfield says something. It's been a while since I last read it, but he says something like, well, people say that a professional is someone who does it for money, and an amateur is someone who does it out of love, right? Like, they just don't like the money, I guess. They're just doing it out of love. And he goes, and I've always disagreed with that. It's not that the professional is doing it for money and the amateur is doing it for love. Is that the amateur does not love the thing in question enough to become a professional on it. And that just opened my eyes wide. I'm like, dude, that makes so much sense to me right now. Because at the time when I first read this book, I was, 27 years old? I'm 31. So it's been a while since I first read it. Actually, no, I was 26. I think. Let's say 27, just for convenience sake. I was probably 27. Let's just say. And it just clicked to me why I hadn't been able to stick to my different passions. Because I've had, the passion of drawing, and I have the passion of martial arts, and I have the passion of writing, even though I haven't done much of it, unfortunately. So I can't say that I just... How can I put this? It's not that I don't like those things, but perhaps I just never got obsessed with them enough or long enough for me to develop the skills necessary to become professional at it, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. And, whatever, I didn't do it. What's done is done, and what's not done is not done, and that's in the past. There's nothing I can do to change that. I won't be a victim of my own decisions. But I have been thinking a lot about, well, maybe it's time to change some of those things. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, finally, how long have I been filming for? 13 minutes into the video, I'll finally address the main topic. Or one of the main topics, I guess. One of the things is, people say do what you love. And yeah, sure, I agree. But to me, almost what has been more helpful is to do what I hate. And I just say that for dramatic purpose, because I don't really hate anything. It's just a word that I'll use, but it's not actual hate. But if you do something that you don't love for long enough, if you do something that you don't like for long enough, you might end up hating it. And if you subject your life, if you made that thing that you don't like, for example, I used to be a waiter. Let me use that as an example. And I waited in different restaurants, and I was different types of waiters. I was even a manager at a restaurant at some point. So I did a bunch of different things, right? Hold on, I need 1 second to concentrate here. Just so I don't mess this up too bad. And that will just be my guideline. And that's probably one of the most stressful jobs that I've ever had. And I've had so many stress. I've been a bouncer. I've done kids parties, like entertainment at kids parties. That's extremely stressful. I've been an actor, like I've probably said before, so it can get very stressful. I've done all sorts of things and been all sorts of places and so on. And like whatever, who cares, right? But my point is, even if I originally had liked those jobs, which I didn't, none of them represented me. None of them represented what I actually wanted to be doing. What I actually wanted to be doing was something creative, something exciting. But apparently, according to Steven Pressfield, I just didn't love any of those things enough to actually to go pro, basically, right? And that makes sense to an extent. I'm not saying that again to play the victim and no, or to be like particularly harsh on myself or anything. Not at all. But what has been more useful to me lately is the understanding of, okay, maybe I'll just use an example. Maybe I didn't pursue a career in drawing because I didn't have the discipline to sit there and just do my studies, my drawing studies, and draw shapes and draw spheres and cubes and pyramids and practice perspective and do like gesture studies, gesture drawings, all that sort of stuff that I actually particularly I do enjoy. When I do it, I just don't do it as often enough to develop these necessary skills. But anyways, but one thing that I guess I wish I had known earlier is maybe I just started doing the thing, like drawing, and I just didn't feel like good enough and I didn't feel passionate enough to pursue it. But any other job that you take is gonna be filled, with stuff that absolutely sucks, that you'll absolutely end up hating, no matter what you end up doing. In this case, the example that I was using as a waiter, sure, I might like to wait some tables and talk to people, but you have to deal with horrible customers now and then, and you have to sometimes deal with very, very hard colleagues to work with who, are being lazy. They don't want to put in the same amount of work or whatever. And you sometimes gotta deal with a bad manager or a bad boss or whatever. All sorts of things, right? And the job can get very stressful as well. There's few things as horrible as forgetting someone's order, but that's every job. Like every job has its moments of stress, and there are things that are less enjoyable than others in that same job. So if I had thought more about that, if I had had that experience of how much I ended up hating waiting tables, and again, hate is not a word that I actually feel. I don't actually feel hate. But just to contrast it with doing something that you quote unquote love, sometimes you need to do what you hate to understand, okay, I really don't like this. And you have to, when you really don't want to sit down and work on developing your own skills, like drawing. Like today I didn't really feel like drawing because I have a horrible headache, and I already took my muscle relaxants for my jaw and so on. But anyways, right now I'm not thinking of, oh, I really, really want to enjoy and have this blissful moment of staring at a screen with my headache while I draw this. No, probably I want to just be laying on my bed with my eyes closed, or listening to a podcast with my wife or something. But I'm here not because I'm thinking of how much I love this, and this is the weird one, but I'm just thinking of how much I don't like pretty much anything else. Any other job. I'm not saying this is my job, but if it would ever become a job, again, this is my hobby, so it goes well with the channel name. But if it is to ever have the potential of becoming a job, sometimes I can find motivation in how much I don't like doing anything else. So that's one advice right there. People will tell you do what you love, but if you have problem or you're having trouble, and I guess I'll finally sum up what I could have said since the start. If you're having trouble following your passion, honestly, again, this is no advice. Don't take it from me. It's just take it with a massive grain of salt, with copious amounts of salt. Give yourself time to try something that you hate, or that you don't hate, but something that you just don't love. Give yourself time, and whenever go work at a gas station or do whatever you can, and you will find that it's a lot easier to do those things when you have an angry manager that's chasing you around, telling you what you need to do, whatever. But my advice for myself, I guess, is all those moments where you feel like you just really would rather be doing anything else, and you feel like people don't really appreciate, or you're in an environment where people don't really appreciate or value your talent or your creativity or whatever, because why would they? You're a waiter. You don't need to be creative or be talented to be a waiter. I mean, I'm sure you can, depending at what level you're doing it. But I certainly wasn't. And I'm just using the waiting example as an example, right? Just keep those moments in the back of your head whenever you don't want to get up on a Saturday to practice your music or your writing or your drawing or your whatever it is you do, that you're wondering whether you might want to go pro at some point. What I did back in the day, I said, well, I practiced as long as I could. Maybe I practiced for 5 hours at the very least every day for 6 months. I did that back in the day. I don't remember exactly how long, but let's say 6 months. That sounds about right. And I did that about 10 years ago. And ever since then, I haven't really gotten back to it. If I had kept that level of discipline for 10 years, my level would be entirely different now. I would totally be able to live off my art right now. I hope. Even though I'm not particularly talented. There's this other thing I saw, I think it was an Instagram post, or a podcast maybe. Talent just means disposition to do the thing. Basically, that's what talent is. Disposition to develop the skill, right? But I didn't do it for whatever reason. So back in the day, I just thought, well, if I didn't do this, maybe it just wasn't for me. Maybe I didn't have the talent. Maybe I just didn't have the disposition back in the day. What I didn't know is that little decision that I took there was gonna cost me ending up having to do so much more things that were so much worse than having to sit down and doing boring drawing practices when you don't want to. Again, it's not something that I consider particularly boring. I actually enjoy it. It's just sometimes you're not feeling it, and anything can be boring when you're not feeling it. Trust me. And I mean, everything can be boring when you're not feeling it, right? So, yeah. Basically, that's my first not advice. Just do what you hate for a while, or do something that you don't want to do until you hate it, and then remember that feeling of hatred and use that to motivate you. It's one of my New Year's resolutions. How about that? The other thing is that too much? Is that too long for a video? Well, maybe I'll address something else just before we end the video, because I could speak for hours, obviously. Maybe not today, because again the meds are kicking in. But I just really wanted to make some content and just talk to my 15 subscribers, which I'm very happy for, by the way. Just before, or originally I wanted to do this before the year was over, but I got extremely busy. But at the very least, now that the year has started. So, the other thing I wanted to talk about is the opposite, maybe not going pro, and the benefits of doing something, even if you're not going pro, even if you never end up going pro. For example, I don't think that I'll ever go pro on drawing. And I hate saying that because you really never know, right? I think I would love to. At least that's how I feel right now. But let's assume that I don't. And the reason I say that I won't is because like I have eyes. You know, I've been to museums, I scroll through Instagram, I see what people out there are doing. And now we have the whole thing about AI and whatever. So if you have all those anxieties, like me, just floating around in my head, here's what I tell myself. Okay? Here's my wholesome, cozy, nice, positive advice that I gave myself the other day thinking about this. Because remember, none of this is advice that I'm giving you. It's advice that I'm giving myself. And the advice I gave myself was, no one really likes to talk to old people. Like, have you noticed that? Some people are better to talk to than others, but unless it's your grandson or whatever and they really like you, like, yeah, but then it's your family, right? But how often do you have a friend that's, I don't know, 70 something, and do you feel, hey, I really miss talking to that guy, 70 something year old guy, and I should call him and spend some time with him. I don't know if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever. Again, unless they're your family. Now, let me make a parenthesis here. Throughout my life, unfortunately, many of them have already passed away. But through my life, I've met a lot of older people people that were way older than me, that I did genuinely enjoy having a good time with, having a good chat with. Many of them weren't even part of my family. Many of them were. But my point is, it's gotta be so lonely to get old, man, or woman, whatever you are. There's just gotta be something about it. Like, you gotta know at some point, people don't really want to hang out with you. Like, usually, maybe older people as well, but I don't know, I guess when you're older, I guess when I'm older, I will have this thing where I'll like to feel like I'm leaving an impression on the younger generations, like a good example or something. A good impression, I guess. Not impression. The impression sounds selfish. Like a good example or living some good experience. When I'm old, I want to be this sage, wise old man that people can come to for advice or whatever. And even if that doesn't end up happening, it's fine. But at least I can strive for it. And why do I bring that up? Well, what's one sure way? Well, two things. First of all, it gets lonely. So if it's lonely, I would very much rather have skills to implement any skills on any sort of hobby that I can just put to practice at any time, that I don't need people for. Or wait, how can I put this into words without it sounding absolutely terrible? I don't know, I guess I'm not really braining too much right now. But I suppose what I'm trying to say is, even if I never go pro in any of my hobbies, even if they're nothing but hobbies, once I retire, I'm gonna be lonely, and all I'll have is my hobbies, because I won't have my job anymore. That's what I'm really trying to say. And family sometimes is there, sometimes it's not, depends, varies from case to case. But one thing that you always have with you is the skills that you developed. Well, not always, you do lose them when you're older, or unless something tragic happens during the way. But certainly if you don't even develop them, you'll lose any chance of ever developing them a lot faster. But if I practice hard and I practice enough, I'm sure that I can get to my older age, if I make it that far, let's say to my 70s, and still be able to create cool stuff that I find fulfilling. Because that's the other thing about like, oh, but AI art can do things now. Like, shut the frack up, dude. Who cares? I do it because I like doing it. When I like doing it. It's cool that you found something that can create slop easier. Don't get me started on AI. Don't get me started on AI. I'll go off the rails here. I need to throw something. There you go. I've channeled my ire, my hate. Sure, AI. Yeah, whatever. It's good to have things that you do because you love to do them. And even if you never go pro, I feel like a craft or an artistic skill or a creative skill that you can develop throughout your life not only enriches all of your life, but it might actually enrich your last years, your last couple decades of life, more so than the others, perhaps, even if you don't pursue it professionally. Because, well, there's just so much potential there, honestly. Imagine, yeah, maybe you never went pro, but you did practice that for 50 years. Or maybe you started later, but you practiced it for 10, 20 years if you started late. That's cool. You know, you can't say the same thing about sports. Like, yeah, I love martial arts, but I don't see myself hopping in on a Muay Thai ring again when I'm 60 something. Maybe. I'm just not sure I'm just not sure my body will hold out that long for me. I don't think, Muay Thai is one of those things like the more you do it, the sooner you have to retire, kind of. So, yeah. But I don't think that's the case for drawing. Sure, you might have back issues and so on, but just creative pursuits in general, like playing music, writing. Like, honestly, if you start, the earlier you start, the longer you get to do it for. At least that's what I feel. And that's my non-advice. My slurry, muscle relaxant induced non-advice for this 2026. And I wish you all the best this year. If you watched all 33 minutes so far of this video, there's no words for me to thank you. I know you don't know how much I appreciate it, but just trust me, I do. And thanks to everyone who has subscribed and liked and supported this small project of mine. I am very excited. Now this I'm excited about to keep developing it and eventually just create a cool community of people who have different passions for different things, and we want to create a safe space for them and give them the respect, the sacred time of day that they deserve. So yeah, thank you so much for supporting me. And if you like this video and would like to support my channel further, feel free to like and subscribe. And Happy New Year! I'll see you on the next one at Astra. Whoa, those meds are really starting to hit right about now. Yeah.